Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back, everybody.
When you get a chance, check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com and learn more about us. And if you guys need to reach us to set up a time for doing a Vedic astrology chart, find out like what your life's purpose was intended to be, as well as other strengths and weaknesses and tendencies. Just fascinating stuff, really.
It is just that the time is really critical. We have to have the time.
Yeah, you have to know exact time, place, and date to be accurate. Otherwise, you really can't be accurate, as everything's always in motion. And we do want to thank everybody for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Couldn't do it without your help over there. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels, Evolutionary and EEARTS. And what do we want to talk about today? Well, you know, there's a lot of things we've covered in different videos. People are always coming and going, and they don't catch every video. And I'm actually, I was triggered by a couple comments, people I recognize, and saying, you know, hey guys, great, see ya. You know, things are crazy, don't get to see every particular video, and then they might not get when we've talked about certain things. And, you know, it's good to kind of recap, but also give you a little bit more detail on things that we're learning, as we're always learning. So we are always, Cindy and I prioritize every single day meditation and mantras. We never miss a day. Never miss a day. It's one of our main things in life is cultivating the spiritual side of things. And then Cindy, you know, her whole purpose in this world is to be a channel. This is why she is here. She is here to be a channel, and so our purpose is to let people know what's going on, because if you, again, just take what is given to you at face value by the powers that be, we are going to be completely in the dark. Completely in the dark.
And just, you know, kind of think back and remember, you know, how many science books have been revised, and how many things did the scientists say that, oh, well, we were kind of wrong about that, we're sorry. You know, it's just nonstop, and it's like they change things with the evolution of who we are. So it does really feel like the controllers, just the only time we're going to know anything is when they want us to know something.
Well, what happens, I do believe, is that, again, you know, many scientists out there catch things, and sometimes they can't be silenced before they've let the cat out of the bag. Sometimes also, maybe they just won't shut up about something that they've discovered and realized. They just, you know, it's one of those things. You put all your time and energy and research into something, and you discover something, and you're like, whoa, check this out. You got to get it out. You got to let people know. And so, you know, they're constantly doing damage control from people like, again, you know, there's so many people that have let the cat out of the bag, whether it's David Icke, whether it's Professor Mack, for instance. You know, we could go on down the line with all these people that have been finding out things, sharing it with humanity. You know, perhaps they were in the inner circle, so to speak, or a inner circle, as there's layer within layer within layer. And really, again, so many of our politicians don't even understand what's really going on at the highest level. All they know is their lives are taken care of. You won't want for anything. You know, that was actually the words that were used when the Illuminati reached out to me the first time. You know, of course, all your physical needs will be taken care of if you join us. So, you know, again, everything is a distortion, and there are truths that come out, and then it's damage control. And again, fact checkers say Enlil and Enki are nice guys.
Yes, of course. They're just here to look out for us. It's nothing like good cop, bad cop. No, not that at all.
And so this is, you know, a representation again of Enlil and Enki, and you could see them right here. Now, they are not in charge, and what we've gotten is they've never been in charge of Nibiru, per se. Yeah, again, Earth, maybe a different story, but again, Earth is one world amongst so many. So what we've uncovered in our meditation, in our channelings with the guides, is that really in this particular solar system, I believe the number that we got was 39 planets. If you consider all the different densities, and that's not considering our moon as a planet, that's not taking Titan and saying it's a planet either. So, there are many, many moons. There are many planets that will be coming visible to our naked eyes during our lives, as long as our lives, we're allowed to go the natural route of things, and we're, going to be able to achieve a natural life expectancy, which again is a whole other issue, guys. We know that. It's a whole other issue. But yeah, as Cindy was alluding to, Enlil and Enki, good cop, bad cop, it's been this same thing all along. We could go again to Genesis 11, which I've quoted probably 3,000 times at least. Look at the humans down there. They're all united. We can't have that. Come, let us go down there and let us scatter them and confuse their language. The universal language out there in the cosmos is telepathy. It's a telepathic cosmos for the most part. We have been basically purposely hamstringed, so to speak. They've disconnected our pineal gland from functioning properly. Again, that's why the fluoride's there. It's not about your teeth. And, honestly, I haven't used fluoride in toothpaste in over a decade, probably a decade and a half. And my teeth are better now than they were when I was using fluoride. And again, this is all control. This is control. They've told us how they view humanity. They view humanity as an inferior slave race to them, to serve their wishes. And if you want to, look at the Bible, what's the day of the Lord? Well, that's the return of the Anunnaki to planet Earth in a physical sense, which in the timeline that we've gotten is give or take 20 years, maybe a little bit less than 20 years at this point in time, when we will actually literally be in that lower fourth density where they will appear to be just as physical to us as they appeared to the humans in the past when they were here on the planet.
Mm-hmm. We did a video, and Mike pulled up music notes to help people understand, to see how do we get to lower fourth. If we're in 3D, doesn't it seem like we're going up, to 4D when all the bad things live in the lower fourth? Well, if you look at music notes, you can see how we go up and then we drop down to that lower fourth. And we are just so close. And so many people have the perception of it already. And that's just growing stronger.
Yeah, again, so lower fourth D is part of the astral realm, and lower fourth D is the hellish realms. And like when we were talking about a certain QE, if you know what we mean. Think royalty that passed recently, just a few months ago. Where is she? She's with these guys. She's with these guys. So again, we are beings that for the most part spend our existence on 3 and 4D with majority of our focus of our consciousness. It's been 3D until now, where truthfully we are dipping toes in 4D. Everybody is different. There are people that can touch 5D and stay in 5D, in a 5D vibrational frequency. When you see some of these yogis, saints, and the like our Anandamayi Ma, who's one of our main guides. And again, these beings, though, they're stuck. So, you could say, why did they appear to us and then disappear, and then why do they appear again? Well, because they're stuck. Whereas we can go up and down. And so the earth goes through the cycle of the yugas, as we've shown, many times. And again, none of these are mine. So, again, you'll get somebody that says, oh, your thing says this. Well, no, it's not mine. I haven't written one of these. Perhaps we'll get around to it when we're doing a prolonged fast and have the energy. So you could see, we go through these ages, and thankfully, too, the Golden Age is much longer than the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, and you see the silver and the bronze. So in reality, where are these Nibiruans, if we want to call them Nibiruans? Because if we talk about Anunnaki, those that come from the heavens. It's a big, broad spectrum. There's many different species, and even on Nibiru, there's many species. There's more than one species. Well, they're going to be physical to us in this realm, right on the edge. And that's when we are at that same frequency, and then we say bye-bye, and then they start to become nothing but a yucky memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just getting through this one part. It is quite difficult. It's very confusing. So many people are waking up, and they're starting to understand their lineage, their galactic lineage, their ancestral lineage. They're starting to perceive their guides, and it's a really confusing time. So it's just perfect for certain entities to want to hop in and take advantage of that.
Yeah, and they did not create our souls. That's the thing to realize again. So your soul wasn't created when your body was created. Your soul is a part of Source. So the soul is eternal. The body is just a temporary vehicle. So again, we are eternal consciousness having a temporary human experience. Interesting when you look at their hats, too. Look at their hats, right? That looks a little bit reminiscent of the Wicked Witch of the West hat, right? With some spiky horns. And this one's a little bit more conical, but they're pointy. Why are they pointy? Well, maybe their heads were a little bit pointy. Also, why are they dressed like other people at that time period? Well, because they wanted to dress like humans in order to make them more comfortable. And again, these beings, Enlil and Enki, are reptilian beings. So they are, they're kind of cold-blooded. Put it simple. And then this is a depiction of the Igigi. And the Igigi are, you could think of them as a class down, so to speak, from the Anunnaki, but, or the Nibiruans that we would think of as the Anunnaki. But then again, Anunnaki is a big, broad classification. So if we again just say that they're beings that came from Nibiru, and Nibiru, as we've shared many times, it was a planet. It's kind of like the moon to a degree, which the moon is truly a ship and an outpost. It's actually 4D. What we're seeing is a projection onto the moon, onto the area where the 4D moon is. It's actually a holographic projection. As much of our sky all day long is truly a distortion and a projection to keep us from seeing the ships that are coming going all the time. As we touched on yesterday again, if you think there's a firmament that you can't get through, then again, you're believing the satanic draconian alphabet soup point of things, because no, there's no firmament that is impenetrable. And I think that a lot of the people that are putting that out there are people that are on the payroll of groups like the CIA, the FBI, Mossad, MI6, all those, and they would have been on the KGB side of things. You got to realize all these governmental groups, while they might literally take each other out, one government from another government, at the same time, they're all really, truly working under the umbrella of this control system. Now, the Igigi are 3D beings, and there's only one left alive right now on Earth that was in that original group that came and have been running the show through this dark age. There was 3 just a little while ago, but two have not been able to make it through the energy that's coming into Earth, and the third will probably be gone pretty soon too. And so a lot of their power is waning as they're trying to maintain their order, awaiting the time when those that we call, if you want to call them Enkyites, Enlilites, etc., make their return. But the thing is, we could be in a different place in a spiritual sense, in a vibrational sense, to where they won't even come back because there won't be anything here for them.
Mm-hmm. There is a way we can start separating our energies, and this is what we talk about now, is like, how do you go about separating these energies? And that's to, first of all, stay as organic as possible, and then soon the energies just take care of themselves in so many levels. You just have to trust enough and be understanding enough to make sure that you're eating all organic food and you're not eating the processed bad foods and none of the processed sugars, things of that nature, and then the energies take care of themselves from there.
So again, the distortion of history that's given to us, and you may have seen there's some biblical groups that will point out things like there's tracks in Texas, for instance, fossilized tracks that show human footprints and dinosaur footprints in the same strata of mud that's been fossilized. How is this possible? That's a great question, because they tell us that the dinosaurs died millions and millions of years ago, and that humans and dinosaurs never cohabitated. Well, the very concept of dinosaurs is a distortion.
This was funny. Mike asked me this question this morning, like, what are they about? Where did they come from? And the thing is they're very much more of like a pet. You would consider them to be kind of a pet, just like we have dogs. These entities were brought in as companions for other certain draconian entities that did walk the planet when they did come here to basically take everything over. So what I see is the pineal gland of the draconian beings, and these dinosaurs talk very clearly, very fluently. So these animals got along very, very well, and it was easy for them to coexist.
Yeah, here's Spot, and here comes your T-Rex coming up. Go fetch, Spot.
Indeed, for sure, that's right.
But yeah, and when you think about it, and there was a book I read, maybe 40 years ago, a long time ago, where somebody was putting out that maybe things like velociraptors actually, evolved into being like Draco type beings. And in some sense, there may be absolutely some validity to that.
Well, they're extremely smart. That's the thing. I mean, they can calculate really at such a high rate, and because they are what they are, their main goal is survival. So they do what it takes to survive, and that part of them, that part of the Draco has never gone away. They do what it takes to survive, and whatever happens in between that.
Yeah, again, the brain is an operating system, so to speak, for the body. So, when the body dies, it's not like all of a sudden there's blackness and you don't have any more thoughts. No, you realize, hey, I can't operate this body anymore. I'm not in it anymore, but I still am.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, we have a very dense form to ourselves right now. We are the densest form, but once we shed this body, it's a lighter form, and we can do different things.
So again, there's a lot of damage control always happening, and so many of these beings that we saw back in those times were actually brought here. Actually, when you get down to many species, again, they're brought here on purpose, and you will even find, again, feline-looking, canine-looking humanoid beings, bird-like humanoid beings out there on different planets and different star systems.
So, when we look at these creatures, understanding that, they are here for a purpose, they are here for companionship. It's just really difficult to, when you're brought up and you're taught one thing, and then to come over to something like this, it is pretty, it can kind of set you back on your heels a little bit. It's like, what? But the information is what it is, and channeled information, although it is through my perspective, might be a little bit different than another channel's perspective. It's still information that's more accountable than that you get out of the science books from the teachers, those that are paid from the controllers to give us a mindset that in fact helps them.
Yeah, so this is the Paluxy dinosaur man track controversy. As this is what creationists will say, the Earth is only 6,000 years old. While they are correct in that, our timelines are absolutely erroneous and wrong on purpose. It's not that the Earth is 6,000 years old. It's that, yeah, there were dinosaurs here, and humanoid beings were here at the same time. And then there were also, extraterrestrials of a physical nature that could leave an imprint that were here too, that had very, very humanoid-looking appearances. Again, the Hindu holy books tell us that there's hundreds of thousands of humanoid species in this galaxy that can appear to us to be very, very human. So again, if we think everything is just going to be, you might use the term spiritual, and you're really talking about a different density. No, there are things that will appear to us, that could have appeared to us and did come to Earth when we were completely 3D before the transition, although it is a long transition. And also at different periods of time. There's so many beings when you're talking 4D. There's so many beings in this 4D realm, and there's a lot of planets. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of planets, as well as other species of life that are around us right now. We can't see, but we will see them. And if we are going to make it 20 more years, it's going to be a very, very different world.
Mm-hmm. It will be. Well, we already can perceive quite a few things right now. And making sure that you're stable and you have a good spiritual practice is one way to help these abilities increase, but you want to be very safe about it. You want to be smart about it and go slow and gentle. You don't want to jump into this like it's just something simple to do, because your hormones actually change as you awaken. So this can cause, certain mood shifts, and we need to be able to control that. So having that ability to quiet the mind really helps us deal with these different mood shifts that we might go through when we're awakening.
So when Cindy asked the guides what happened to the dinosaurs, she was getting impressions of volcanoes and of things falling from the skies. So that part seems to be correct. Also, she got that the beings, again, that we might call the Anunnaki, we could just say label that the extraterrestrials on Earth at that time would simply get off Earth, get out of the way, wait till it's over, come back.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that information that I got, what did happen, that kept coming through the same over and over again. Volcanoes, stuff from the sky, something very, not very nice.
And in fact, now that I think about it, that is exactly what's said in the Sumerian scrolls. It says that, basically Enlil-Enki and the Anunnaki just withdraw, and they left the planet, and we're talking about really what I believe is the Younger Dryas extinction, and they watched. They watched what happened, and, some of them, according to the text, were very upset. Other ones were kind of like good riddance. And, it was, again, an individual thing. And then they returned once it was over. But again, there wasn't all that much. Well, there was still time before the density would shift, but it was heading towards that as we were heading towards the Kali Yuga and leaving the the iron, well, actually, that would be the Bronze Age. So when you look at something like this, there are some really cool artistic inspirations that are coming through, and people seem to be getting more and more accurate representation of these beings all the time as we're getting closer to the time where many of these beings will once again appear out in the open. But we can also sense them, and our abilities are increasing dramatically. And this is why everything is going on. To have 8 billion wide-awake humans on a planet is something that's going to be relatively uncontrollable.
Yeah, it would be. And I noticed the artists, they continue to channel these visualizations better and better and better as time goes on. And that's what's happening. We're all getting to be that way.
So they know this. So again, when we're out of the body, if we were to ascend, we can ascend, and individuals can ascend at any time. It's just a matter of keeping your vibrations high. some people will say, why not, you're a pacifist, we can only take care of this one way, and view it obviously in a very, very aggressive sense. Well, it depends on what your goals are. If you want to get caught and stay in basically a 3D, 4D loop, and again, that's really ultimately what they want. They want us to stay in that 3D, 4D loop. They want us to stay in the lower 4D, 3D loop. So if we give in to hatred and anger and all those things, then we're much more likely to reincarnate again in their system, in their proximity, where they could utilize us again. And so if we take the high road, sure, again, we have to be realists about this. Already we've lost so many more people than we are openly being let known. We've lost a ton. Yet so many people will ascend, because the natural order of things would be to ascend if the individual soul chose to, all the way up to 5D, where you're no longer you're not under their control anymore. And, you can make your own choice. You might decide you don't want to incarnate in this part of the galaxy anymore. You're going to go somewhere totally, totally different, and be well away from any of this conflict even. It's an individual choice. But again, we have to recognize that everything we've been given is a distortion. So again, the psyop of flat Earth, so many psyops, the Earth-centric model and everything else revolves around us. That was predominant when the church controlled the minds, the hearts, and everybody in reality had to bend the knee to the church, so to speak. Otherwise, you could be excommunicated, and worse yet, you could be exterminated if you went against it. So when you see this, it's obvious this is a controller psyop that's well underway. But the representations that we see now coming out are much, much more likely, much, much more accurate, and the reality of there being beings of a reptilian nature that are behind the scenes the whole time is getting to be more of a mainstream thing.
Just look at something like Star Wars. That was a little while ago, but many of these beings have been seen, or they've channeled themselves through other people's consciousnesses. And look at these. There's statues. Statues have been around for a very long time depicting these.
And you find the exact same statues, exact same. You'll find them in Mesoamerica. You'll find them throughout, the Americas, and you'll find them over in the Middle East, Asia. How could this be? People were supposedly not traveling all over the globe. Why did they make the exact same representations of beings they have seen?
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, how could these beings be all over the place when there's no such thing as any kind of technology like that? There's no TV. There's no phones. There's no ability to send a hologram of somebody else.
And they very well may appear like this, and they might have a nice, outwardly friendly nature because they want to make you relax. Yeah. They'll dress like we do in modern times. But again, make note of that skull too, by the way. There have been so many different representations we found all around the globe that are of obvious 3D or apparently physical people becoming viewable to people on Earth using technologies. As you see, this little guy looks like he's just riding on top of a rocket.
He does. I mean, what's up with that? Where does that come from? Is this like some little child's toy? And look at this guy. He's like crammed inside of a rocket, and that looks like a glass shell. What's up with that?
Oh, yeah. And we've seen representations like this all over the world. Again, this particular one, I do think, it's tough to tell. I'm thinking this is probably Central America. But we do find the same thing. Actually, we find it in the Middle East. We find it in Southeast Asia. We find it all over the place, all over the place. Europe too, and there's representations in our artwork. So yeah, who really controls the Vatican? Well, it's that wise old serpent. Yeah, and you see representations again of the fact that they might have a taste that we would not be happy to know about. There are so many different types of reptilian beings. As you see this one dressed up again more in the Americas style, but it's what we would call a Naga from India and also Southeast Asia. And there are beings that are living on Earth right now, living inside the Earth and living in a slightly higher density that are very much like this. They're very, very much like this. And I remember having an interaction with one while in a meditative state, and it startled the crap out of me. It actually asked me if I wanted to come visit. I was like, "Oh, no, I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so." And some will say, again, how do you know your guides? Well, because the energy from like the Naga, it was not the energy that we get from the guides. The guides make you feel like you're in your mother's arms or in your mother's womb. This made you feel like you're standing around. If you were just standing on a little island and there's all sorts of crocodiles around you, they give you that kind of feel. Not that the Naga felt evil, because it didn't really feel evil. It felt powerful and potentially dangerous. And again, not that I wouldn't say that it could have a tendency towards what we might label as evil, because many of these beings are outright adversarial to humanity. Amerigo Vespucci, America. Yes. Again, we see, this symbolism is all around us. It's all there for us. So many different tribes will dress up certain way. They remember seeing these beings. They remember seeing these very reptilian humanoid beings that mimicked them. They dressed in whatever the garb was of the society they were visiting, because again, they were looking for opportunity. They were looking for opportunity. It didn't want to necessarily scare them. But then also there's been so much real concrete 3D evidence. If you think it's all just beings that are non-physical and that can't leave evidence like skulls, no, there's so many different species that are on the planet and have been on the planet that have left their bones. Again, dinosaurs were given these classifications. They're not exactly accurate, and representing them as being dumb and brain the size of a marble, so there can't be any intelligence there. That's not exactly accurate either. There's many skulls, especially like when we go into Paracas and Peru and Bolivia and on up towards Ecuador. We find all these elongated skulls. And yes, the people did mimic those of a different type of lineage. So yeah, a lot of them are skulls that are, they're manufactured by when the child, the baby is growing. You put boards on it and kind of train the bone to grow a certain way, but they were mimicking certain people. And then there are skulls that are not human. They're not Homo sapiens. And we know this. The DNA just lets us know it. The placement of where the spinal cord goes, the foramen magnum, is different. The plates in the skull are different. And again, in South America, you don't find many people with red hair and blue and green eyes, but that's what these beings had. And when we look at some of them, and there's a wide variety. Not all of them are those conical ones. There's different shapes. Some are more bulbous. There's been so many different forms of humanoid beings on the planet, and we have physical evidence. There's tons of physical evidence. It's just that they want to ignore it. And if you do go and put in Homo Capensis, you'll come up with the fact that now they're actually saying, yeah, this was a different humanoid species. It was conspiracy theory not too long ago. Now it's undeniable. Again, these are different. These are different beings. The DNA has found that they're different. But yes, they could interbreed and did interbreed with Homo sapiens. Just as we know Denisovans and Neanderthal could interbreed with Homo sapiens. And so, again, they're not exactly the same. The fascinating part, too, is that, again, we're told that they didn't have the ability back, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. Because, again, you'll find these skulls 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, even, as much as maybe 1,700 years ago. You'll find these different skulls there. So these people were around for a long time. And again, even maybe sooner when we look to Tartaria and that civilization. And again, some of these are just kind of fossilized. They still have skin on them. This is what's really interesting. There's so many of them. They're in all sorts of little stores and shops down there. You just might walk in to get some food and stuff, and there'll be a whole shelf full of these unusual skulls because there's so many of them. They're constantly digging them up. And then we have the legends of the mound builders. Well, who were these mound builders? Red-headed giants. When you say the red-headed giant thing, it touches a raw nerve with some people. As you can see, different shapes here, much larger volume. This is not what we've been told officially. So here you have, this is the area. And this is also the area which is really close to Nazca, where you have the Nazca lines. See, Nazca. So these Nazca glyphs were made so that you could only see from a high altitude and understand what these glyphs were. They're that large. So in other words, they're signaling to people that were flying in the sky. Guys, over here, come stop. We got, great bread. We got great food. Come and join us. That's really what they're kind of saying. And here's the Black Sea area. Well, when the DNA comes back, where do you see that these people with the red hair and the elongated skulls have, relatives? Here. The Black Sea area. So that is fascinating, but it's to be expected, really, because again, with the cataclysm that hit in Younger Dryas, you have here in Turkey, we have Anatolia. This is the area where all those caves were. So survivors went inside. Some people were led inside. Again, the Hopi legend, and again, the Hopi legend literally calls the ant people Anunnaki. And that means ant friends, or ant people friends, to the Hopi. And they were led inside the earth to survive the Younger Dryas cataclysm. And you could house hundreds of thousands of people in in Turkey alone in the cave systems that are down in there. So afterwards, beings came back out and started to repopulate, started to move around. The technology was much more advanced than what we're given. So as Cindy was saying yesterday, doesn't anybody realize that they don't have to migrate over, any way? They don't have to, build a boat, sail through the straits there at Gibraltar and, come land over here and track over here. No, they just flew.
Yeah, I mean, they flew from one spot to the other, and I can understand they have to make something up that seems plausible to people, like, they took a ship and, but that's not how things were. We are not the pinnacle of modern anything. We're just a replay. We're a replay. And now we have an option to go beyond what this kind of situation that we're in, going through this 3D realm. We're in a place now where we can move way beyond that and create our own worlds.
So I hope this gave you guys some inspirations for maybe some more questions and more deep diving into the secrets. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you found. As always, thank you for your support. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.